Hello and welcome. It is grafting time again. Now, I must confess, I have made a bit of a mess of it this year. I seem to be doing that quite a lot. That's a bit of a theme. Nothing is going quite right, and especially not with these tomatoes. Last year, I sowed my rootstocks and most of them had germinated already after just 3 days, and after 4 days, I think 90% of them were up and away, and they grew like lightning. And I had trouble last year because the scions were behind. Now I've adapted my timings this year, and I actually did 2 sowings of the scions. Well, the first sowing, they have romped away. They germinated pretty quickly, and they're a ridiculous size. I can't graft many, if any, of those. The second batch of scions, that was just 1 week before the rootstocks. Well, they are almost there. They're more or less the right sort of sizes, but the rootstocks this year were really slow. The first one appeared after, I think, a little bit over a week, and they came up in dribs and drabs and really slow to get going. And I should have grafted these at the end of last week. I looked at them and thought, it'd be fine, I'll do them next week. And over the weekend, they've gone completely nuts. Don't know why, but they've suddenly all leapt up, and these are great big, leggy, horrible plants. But hopefully I can fix that while I'm grafting. So I haven't done a great job of it. But never mind, I've got what I've got. These plants are really, I would have liked to do them when they're smaller than this. That was the plan, and I have failed. So anyway, I've got everything I need here. I've got razor blades for cutting these things. What I will do is snap this in half with a little bit of care. Yeah, there we go. Try not to slice my fingers. So now I've got 2 sharp blades, which is what you need. Now last year I held the grafts together with some silicone tubing. I cut that into short lengths and I slit the tubing. This year I've got proper grafting clips. I'll just show you one of those. I don't know how well that will show up on the camera, but these are proper little clips. So they're really a piece of tube again that's split down one side, and they've got these wings there you can use to open and close that clip up. And I've got those in various sizes. Now I'd ordered these for last year. I don't know what happened to them. They got stuck somewhere for weeks, and these didn't arrive until well after I'd done the grafting. So last year I bought that tubing and used that instead. Either works fine. The tubing is absolutely fine. It's just a bit of a faff cutting them all up into little pieces and getting them ready, but it doesn't really matter. So I've got different sizes here so I can find the right sort of size for my stems. Now, I'm not going to do a great big long video on this because I did a whole series of them last year, and I'll put the links to that series in the description. But I will graft a few on camera, and then what I want to do is show you, let's say, the healing chamber. I had a few comments on the old videos about that and how I was doing that, and I didn't show too much of that last time, and I will make a point of showing you where I'm putting these and how I'm going to look after them while the grafts are healing. So one of the things I got wrong last year, and the only thing I've got right this year, is watering. This is particularly for the rootstocks. You don't want to water them just before you're going to graft. You end up with quite a pressure of sap there, and that fluid pressure can force the graft apart, and then it won't heal properly. And I'm sure I lost a few from that last year. So I watered these the day before last. They had a good watering then, so they're certainly not dehydrated, but I'm hoping that when I cut these, there's not going to be a rush of fluid there that will force the graft apart. That's the idea anyway. So the game here is the same as usual. I'm going to pick over the scions, look for something that I can match with one of the rootstocks and make the graft. I'm making a simple graft, just a splice, a diagonal cut across the stems. I will line those two up together when I make the cut because that will help me to get that pretty accurate. I'll put the clip on the rootstock, slide the scion down, line it up nicely to meet, and hopefully that will then take. So of course these stems are tapered, so you've got a little bit of wiggle room there. You can graft higher or lower on the rootstock, higher or lower on the scion, but you need those stem diameters to match pretty well. So that is the main trick really. I do not want to get these confused. I do not want to graft the rootstocks onto the scions. So my scions are all in the trays here. That should help prevent me from getting that wrong. All my rootstocks are in little 7cm pots. Right, let me see if I can find something that looks like a likely candidate. That's a really thick one. That's a pretty thick rootstock actually. Let's have a little look. That rootstock might be a wee bit too thick. Yeah, that's not too bad. Well, I can't put this off any longer. At some point, I've got to actually cut something. So it's time to be brave and decapitate that scion. Now actually, because I've cut that above the seed leaves there, these will, in all likelihood, re-sprout from the leaf axils. And if you want spare plants, you can then use those. I really don't need any spares. I've got tons of them down the garden, so I won't be using those. Now I don't need this growth on here, so I can get rid of that. It's a good idea to chuck that far away so that you don't accidentally then pick it back up and try to put it back. Now I want to have a little look on here and see exactly where the stems are going to match nicely. And this one I think I can graft just below these seed leaves, which is great. I don't need that on there. Right. So this is the tricky bit, lining that up nicely. And actually, before I do that, let me find the right size clip. Oh, there, yeah, it's quite a big one. That is perfect. It's got a nice grip there. So, they're lined up. Now I'm just going to make a diagonal cut across both of those stems. And doing it together, I know that those angles are going to match nicely. And yeah, chuck that away. Now on with the clip, and then I'm just going to slide this down, making sure the orientation is correct. Slide that down and make any adjustment I need to make sure that is nicely lined up. It is worth taking a moment to get this bit right so that those surfaces here where they've been cut are in really good alignment. If they're not, you haven't got much hope of that graft healing. Now actually, although I'm not that delighted with these plants, that has made a nice little grafted specimen. I'm quite happy with that. What I will do, I think, is remove a little bit of this top growth, and I'm going to do that to reduce transpiration, the moisture loss through the leaves here, because these will quite quickly get fairly sad, and I don't want too much leaf area there losing moisture. In fact, I think I will take that entire lower leaf off. Yeah, that's plenty of growth there. They don't need more than that right now. And yeah, hopefully that one will take. It's quite nicely matched. I'm very happy with that. Now, what was it? That happens to be a Cherokee purple. So the whole idea of my grafting here really is because I've got old open pollinated varieties that they probably have a little less vigor in general, but they also don't have such good disease resistance. And I'm growing in greenhouse beds mainly, where I've grown tomatoes for many years, and the rootstocks will have better resistance to soil-borne pathogens that would otherwise give me pretty unhealthy plants. And I've noticed a decline in the productivity and health of our open pollinated plants over the last couple of years. So rather than doing extreme things like digging out all the soil in the greenhouses and replacing it, or swapping it with beds outside, grafting the plants gives them extra vigor, extra disease resistance. I also happen to then get larger trusses of larger fruit, and that's all great, of course, as a bit of a bonus, but that's not the main reason why I'm doing it. It's because I really like these old varieties, and they can be a little less healthy and a little less productive. Anyway, I will do another one of those Cherokee purples. I'm looking again for a reasonable size rootstock. These have produced pretty big stems actually. That one is not bad. So off with his head, get rid of that and get rid of that. Away with the seed leaves. I don't need them for anything. And then I'll decapitate the scion. And I'm going to graft this fairly low down, I think. And again, an angled cut. Let me take a little bit more of that off. And a bit more of that. Go away. Right. And a clip. Just check the alignment is lovely, and see, that looks pretty good. So that's it. I mean, it is a fairly quick process. It's rather brutal to the poor plant. You cut off the top of the rootstock and it's no longer getting any carbohydrates. It thinks it's starving. You cut the roots off of the scion, it's now dying of thirst. Neither plant is happy, and these will really sulk for some days. The grass will start to heal pretty soon if they're going to, but it takes quite a long time really for those tissues to heal enough to restore vitality to the top growth, and that's why I'm cutting quite a lot of that away. In fact, I will lose both pairs of leaves there. Just leave this little bit, because moisture loss is our enemy here. After I've done 2 or 3 of these, I will then get them in the chamber, and the first thing I will do when I put them in is give them just a gentle misting, and I will mist in that chamber regularly to maintain the humidity. I will have to get one of my little temperature and humidity sensors. I will put that in there, and that will help me monitor the humidity levels. They want to be fairly high for the first few days and then gradually decreased. If there's too much humidity, roots tend to form from the graft union. That's not what you want, of course. So you've got to be a little bit careful with that. I've got that chamber set on 24 degrees, so nice and warm. And they should be happy in there. Anyway, I'll pop these 2 in, and then I'll come back and do some more. So what I'm using for the so-called healing chamber is just one of my regular propagators here. They do have vents on, although I will have those vents closed for a while because I want to make sure that it's nice and humid inside. So I've got this set to 24 degrees. That's probably a reasonable temperature for healing these. And over the top, I've got multiple layers of shade netting. So at the moment, it is pretty shady inside this chamber. And that's what you want. You want it dark in there to begin with, and then after a couple of days, I will peel this back 1 layer at a time, or probably to start with, because this spot will get some morning sun. I will leave all of these layers during the morning, and then gradually uncover them in the afternoon when the light is a little less harsh here. And so the idea is this is dark, warm and humid. Doesn't matter what you use, you don't have to use a propagator like this, but you do need all 3 of those factors there. Room temperature is probably okay for healing these, so long as your room temperature doesn't go too low at night. But you've got to get that dark and humid. Dark for at least the first, at least 2 days. I will see how they're doing. I won't start to uncover them until they look as though the grafts have taken and the top growth is starting to improve a bit, because it will go all sad and wilted. As soon as that shows signs of picking up, then I can gradually peel layers of this stuff away and expose them to some gentle light. And they will be in here for, I would think, the best part of a week before I move them back down to the greenhouse. Well, as you can see, this job is going to take me quite a long time. And if you see somebody doing this who's really skilled at it, they are so fast. But of course, this is only my 2nd year grafting them, and I am by no means fast at this. But I like to take my time and try to get that as accurate as possible, because otherwise they're just going to die after a couple of days in the chamber there. So I think I will always be pretty slow at this job, but I've got the time. What I want to do is hopefully get some successful grafts at the end of the day. So I'm just going to carry on with this job and fill that chamber with, hopefully, with grafted plants, and I expect I will show you the results after some days. But that is all for this video. I will leave links to the whole of the grafting series from last season in the description, and there's tons more information and detail in those videos. So that's all for now. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.